is the season for all your holiday favorites, like A Very Jonas Christmas Movie and Home Alone on Disney+.
Did I burn down the joint? I don't think so.
Then Hulu has National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
We're all in for a very big Christmas treat.
All of these and more streaming this holiday season. And right now, save big with our special Black Friday offer. Bundle Disney Plus and Hulu for just $4.99 a month for 1 year. Savings compared to current regular monthly price. Ends 12/1. Offer for ad-supported Disney Plus Hulu bundle only. Then $12.99 a month or then current regular monthly price. 18 plus terms apply.
With new, gentler scented Clorox disinfecting wipes, clean finally smells as good as it feels. On everything from lamps to ceiling fans. Even on your kid's toy shark. Oh, ouch. Clorox disinfecting wipes. Now available in crisp lemon. Find it on Amazon. Clorox. Clean feels good.
Meet the computer you can talk to. With Copilot on Windows, working, creating, and collaborating is as easy as talking. Got writer's block? Share your screen with Copilot Vision to help spark inspiration, and use Copilot Voice to have a conversation and brainstorm ideas. Or maybe you need some tech help. With Copilot Vision, Copilot sees what you see. Let Copilot talk you through step-by-step guidance so you can master new apps, games, and skills faster. Try now at windows.com/Copilot.
Welcome to the Murder Diaries. I'm Natalie.
And I'm Paige.
By the age of 23, Selena Quintanilla had earned the moniker Queen of Tejano music. She was a musical powerhouse, an adept businesswoman, whose fashion and music contributions have influenced multiple generations. She worked tirelessly to build her dream life, a booming career, a tight-knit family, and a loving husband. When everything was cruelly ripped away from her by someone she thought to be her friend. This is her story.
Used to think it's in my head, but I'm walking with the dead.
There are some people who seem to be born for greatness. Selena was one of those people. Perhaps it was because she was born with music running through her veins. Her father, Abraham Quintanilla, was also a musician. Abraham developed a deep love for music at a very young age and even dropped out of high school in his senior year to follow his dreams of making music. He joined a group called Los Dinos in 1956, and together the group would play at different music venues hoping for their big break. Los Dinos released their first single in 1959. The single experienced moderate success, and the group found themselves getting more and more bookings. They followed up that single with another entitled Give Me One Chance. That single also did considerably well and sold about 150,000 copies, which was huge for a relatively unknown group. However, the group's popularity started to wane, and in 1961, Abraham left music to begin a career in the United States Air Force. It was while he was stationed at a base in Ashington that he met Marcela Zamora. It didn't take long for the two to fall in love, and they tied the knot in June of 1963. Shortly after their wedding, the couple welcomed their firstborn, a son named Abraham Quintanilla III, but he went by AB. After their son was born, the couple moved back to Abraham's hometown of Corpus Christi, and that's when Abraham decided to give music another go. He rejoined Los Dinos and the band started booking gigs together again. However, things didn't go well for the band this time around. See, even though they called themselves Los Dinos and were all Mexican-American, they couldn't sing one word in Spanish, even when pressured by a Mexican-American crowd that expected Spanish music. During one gig, the crowd was so angered with the lack of Spanish music that the band was kicked out of the venue with a police escort, and the club promoter was also forced to refund the crowd. After that incident, the group released more music, but by 1969, the group's popularity had all but disappeared. On top of the pressure put on them to sing in Spanish, the band also had to deal with a racist America that wasn't ready to accept a Mexican-American band. With all of this going on, Abraham decided to leave the band for good. By then, he and Marcela had had a second baby, Suzette Michelle Quintanilla, and Abraham had to think about how he was going to support a family of 4. The family moved to Lake Jackson, Texas, and Abraham took a job with Dow Chemical. There, he earned enough money to look after the family, and it seemed that life was settling down for the former musician. However, life was about to take a tragic turn when Abraham received news that no husband wants to hear. His wife had a tumor. Before Marcella underwent surgery to remove the tumor, they decided to seek out a second opinion. And as they sat in the doctor's room, Marcella and Abraham waited anxiously to hear her fate. When the doctor finally told them what was going on, they were surprised to find out that it wasn't the somber news they were expecting. The doctor told them that Marcella didn't have a tumor after all. Instead, he told them that she was pregnant with a baby boy. Marcella and Abraham must have felt a wave of emotion rush through them at that moment. Confusion, relief, but mostly excitement that a new baby was about to join the family. And Marcella wasn't unwell after all. They were doubly excited when they found out they were going to have a boy, and they decided on the name Mark Anthony. On April 16, 1971, at Freeport Community Hospital, Marcella gave birth to a healthy baby. Life seemed to have more twists to throw at Marcella and Abraham, because instead of the baby boy they were expecting, Marcella gave birth to a beautiful baby girl who they named Selena. Just over 2 short decades later, the Quintanilla family would be back at that hospital. This time, though, instead of celebrating the arrival of a new family member, they would be mourning her departure. Life for the Quintanilla family wasn't always steeped in tragedy. In fact, for most of Selena's life, the walls of her family home were filled with music and laughter. One day, Abraham was tinkering on the guitar with AB, Selena's brother, when little Selena walked in. The then 6-year-old began to sing along. The elder Quintanilla looked at his child singing with such passion, and in that moment, he knew that even though his own dreams of making it big in music had failed, this little girl would continue his legacy and make something of herself. So with her brother as the bass player and her sister Suzette as the drummer, Selena became the lead singer of the newly formed group, Selena and Los Dinos. Soon enough, Selena and her siblings were performing at a restaurant that Abraham had opened in 1980. Abraham even built a stage for the children to perform on. Unfortunately, the restaurant dream was short-lived, because just 1 year later, a recession forced the family to close the restaurant and file for bankruptcy. The family was also evicted from their home and forced to move back to Corpus Christi. That period of life was tough for the family. One can only imagine the pressure on Abraham to provide for his family. But the Quintanilla family had an ace up their sleeve, a get-out-of-jail-free card in the form of a little girl with a big voice. Despite their bleak situation, Abraham knew that Selena had the potential to transcend all of their struggles. He started to book gigs for Selena and her siblings. They would play at weddings, fairs, parties. Wherever there was a crowd, they would play. Music was not only a hobby or artistic outlet, but it also became the family's only means of survival. Soon enough, at just 9 years old, Selena and her siblings were living on the road, traveling from gig to gig. Before long, teachers started to get worried about the young girl's schooling. They thought that she was working too much and missing too many classes. One teacher even considered approaching the Texas Board of Education, but Abraham told her to mind her own business. Shortly after that confrontation, he pulled Selena from school when she was in the 8th grade. What had started as a typical childhood quickly became anything but. She was once quoted as saying, "I lost a lot of my teenage period, but I got a lot out of it too." And she was right. Within a couple of years, Selena's music career would skyrocket. Her success changed everything for her and her family.
At this point in the story, you might be having your own thoughts about Abraham's parenting choices and your own opinions on that. Maybe he sounds like the quintessential stage parent who was putting their dreams onto their children. Some have even compared him to Joe Jackson, Michael Jackson's father. The difference here with Abraham, though, is that while Joe Jackson used emotional and physical violence against his children to get what he wanted out of them, there are no reports that Abraham was ever abusive to his children. It seems like he was a father that wanted his children to have a different life than he had. Perhaps that's fueled by his own music career that never took the flight he wanted it to, or the dire financial situation that the family was in. You could argue that most parents want what's best for their kids. Of course, let's not trivialize the argument, though, that there was a lot of pressure on Selena to provide for the family and put food on the table. While they were touring, it was the kids that went out and sang and put on the performance to make sure that the family had money for food, for gas, to survive. With that, Selena grew up in many ways pretty quickly. In 1984, Selena and her siblings recorded their first record titled Selena y los Dinos. It was while recording that Selena was faced with a big decision. Selena wanted to make records in English. After all, that was her first language. She couldn't string a full sentence together in Spanish, let alone sing an entire album. But her dad advised her against it. It's here again that we see how Abraham's own past shaped the decisions that he made for his children. In his experience, he and his band had been ridiculed for being a Mexican-American band that didn't sing any Spanish songs. He knew that if Selena really wanted to hit the big time, she had to connect to her heritage. So she started learning Spanish, and eventually she learned enough to sing a full album. This goes to show how incredibly gifted Selena was and how determined she was to learn for herself, not just for her dad. It seems here that Selena started sharing this dream with him. Abraham knew that Selena had a tough road ahead of her. The genre of music that Selena became known for, Tejano music, was male-dominated at the time. The band would often have a tough time booking gigs because of this. Unfortunately, venue owners were proving to not be interested in booking a female-fronted Tejano band. Despite the doubts and the language barriers, Selena and her family plowed on, and in 1987, Selena's career really hit big when she won the Tejano Music Award for Best Female Vocalist. She went on to win that award for 9 consecutive years. When hearing Selena's story, it's easy to get distracted by how much she did in such a short amount of time. And it's easy to think that she was older than she actually was. Keep in mind that at this point in Selena's life, when she started to hit major music career success, she was only 15 years old. In 1989, 2 years after she won her first Tejano Music Award, Selena performed at the award show. There, she caught the eye of Jose Behar from a record company called EMI Latin. Jose took one look at Selena and he knew that he was looking at the next big star. Selena signed with EMI and began working on her debut studio album. On October 17th, the album titled Selena was released. At its peak, the album sat in the 7th spot on the Billboard's regional Mexican album chart. Life was looking good for Selena. She had success, newfound fame, and love.
Enter the guitarist who would steal Selena's heart, Chris Perez. Selena and Chris's love story was straight out of a rom-com. Selena's original guitarist left the band, and so AB went on the hunt to find a replacement. That's when he met Chris Perez. At first, Abraham didn't like Chris at all. Chris had long locks and a rocker style, and Abraham thought that he might mess with Selena's image. But after Chris made some changes to his appearance, Abraham let him join the band. It was during a band trip to Mexico that Selena and Chris really formed a romantic connection. Chris had a girlfriend at the time, and Selena had a reputation to maintain, but they both felt that they were drawn to each other. Despite their best efforts, they couldn't deny the pull that they felt. And once they came back stateside, they confessed their love for each other in a sticky booth at Pizza Hut, surrounded by the aroma of meat and cheese. But their love was never destined to be smooth sailing. Just like in every rom-com worth watching, their relationship experienced some serious drama. In their case, most of it was caused by Selena's father, Abraham. For a while, the couple tried to keep their relationship under wraps because they knew how Abraham would react if he found out. His little girl dating the big bad rocker? He would lose his mind. Unfortunately, Selena had siblings, and as we all know, depending on the day, siblings will either take your secrets to the grave or will rat you out the first chance they get. Sure enough, Suzette ratted Selena out to their dad. She told Abraham all about Chris and Selena's secret relationship. As expected, Abraham freaked out and fired Chris from the band, and he banned Selena from ever seeing Chris again. But Abraham should have known that there was no keeping fated souls apart, and telling your kid not to do something is about the quickest way to get them to do something. Selena snuck off to meet Chris at a hotel one morning and convinced him to marry her. In her head, if she got married to Chris, then Abraham would have no choice but to accept their union. So in April of 1992, Selena and Chris eloped. They had initially planned to keep their marriage out of the press, as Selena was worried that her youthful image would be ruined if people found out that she was married. Sadly, when you're as big of a star as Selena was, you can't do something as big as getting married without someone finding out about it. Within hours of the couple getting hitched, news of their nuptials was all over the radio. And that's how Abraham found out that his 20-year-old daughter had just married the guy he had fired. You might be imagining the wrath that Abraham brought down on the newlyweds when he found out. You might think he'd disband the group or disown his daughter, but Selena's plan actually worked. Abraham accepted Chris into the family. He even took it one step further when he apologized to Chris for his own behavior. Just like that, Selena had everything she had ever dreamed of. Her career was skyrocketing, with some even calling her the Tejano Madonna. She had the love of her life by her side and the support of her family. What could go wrong?
Everything went wrong. Just behind the glare of the paparazzi lights was a woman whose admiration would turn into obsession, an obsession that would turn fatal. Yolanda stood in the crowd as she waited for the music to start. She was jostled around as fans grew more anxious for the star that they had all come to see to finally come out on stage. The stadium was abuzz with excitement, but it was an excitement that Yolanda could not understand. Yolanda did not want to be at the concert that day. In fact, her friends had to beg her to go. But there she was, waiting for Selena to come out on stage. Soon enough, the heavy beat of the drums filtered through the crowd and the guitar played the first notes. And then there she was, looking ever like the goddess she was, cloaked in a sparkly bustier and high-waisted pants. She put the mic up to her smiling, cherry-red lips, and out came the voice of an angel. The music seemed to flow right through her as she bounced and danced across the stage in only the way that she could do. Selena had a way of pouring the feeling of a song straight out of her soul and into the listener's heart. To know her was to love her, and Yolanda was no exception. By the time the last note rang out, Yolanda was a fan. When she went to buy some merch after the store, she noticed that there was nothing for sale. Yolanda knew this was a massive missed opportunity for the star, so she contacted Abraham to offer her services. She wanted to start up a fan club for Selena so that supporters of the star could purchase merch and stay in the know about tour dates and other appearances. Abraham agreed to meet with Yolanda to talk business. She was just shy of 5 feet tall and had an unassuming, almost maternal air and look about her. She looked like she couldn't hurt a fly, even if she tried. There was nothing threatening about her behavior, and her business nous was sound. So he gave her the go-ahead to start and run the fan club. As tragically as the story ends, Yolanda's introduction to the team was initially beneficial. By 1993, Yolanda had built the fan club up to around 1,500 members, and it would eventually swell to more than 5,000. For $22, which would be closer to $45 or $50 today, each fan club member would receive merch as well as up-to-date information about Selena's tour dates. Before the internet and Beyoncé's Beehive, Lady Gaga's Monsters, and Swifties, fan clubs were all the rage. With Yolanda at the helm, Selena's fan club solidified, and this made Yolanda seem even more trustworthy to the Quintanilla family. Yolanda's friendship with Selena grew during this time. The pair got so close that Yolanda claimed Selena would call her mom. Some of Selena's closest friends and family have disputed that Selena ever did that. Eventually, Yolanda was so successful in weaseling her way into the Quintanilla family's good graces that when it came time to choose a manager for clothing boutiques that Selena was planning on opening, the family thought that Yolanda was the perfect candidate for the job. Never mind that she had zero retail experience and had once been accused of embezzling money from a former employer. See, before Yolanda joined the glitz and glam world of music, she was just a girl from San Antonio, Texas. She was one of 8 children, and her childhood years weren't the happiest. Yolanda always struggled with her weight, and kids at school bullied her incessantly about it. She graduated high school in 1979, but it took her 11 years to finish her nursing degree. In December of 1990, she graduated and earned a bachelor's in nursing from Texas A&M. With a degree and new career, you would think that life would be getting easier for Yolanda. But around that time, she became responsible for 3 kids that she took in. One of them was her niece. Suddenly, her paycheck had to stretch a whole lot further. Perhaps that would explain why she allegedly embezzled $9,200 from a dermatologist that she worked for. Yolanda eventually settled that case, but legal trouble would continue to follow her. When Yolanda started working, she also got in trouble for not paying back her student loans. To be honest, that was probably the least of her worries. Yolanda's life did finally take a turn for the better when she began working for Selena. She was rubbing shoulders with the rich and famous and was making a pretty decent living as the manager of Selena, etc., the boutique stores that Selena had opened.
As Selena and Yolanda's relationship blossomed, those around Selena started to notice some strange things about Yolanda. Firstly, Yolanda was super possessive over Selena. She would flash a disarming smile when Selena was around, but as soon as Selena left, she would be rude and cutting to anyone who dared to come close to her beloved pop star. Looking back, it's easy to see that Yolanda wanted to be the center of Selena's universe because Selena was the center of hers. A woman who lived with Yolanda remembers that Yolanda's apartment was almost a shrine to Selena. Every available surface was covered with Selena merch and pictures. Yolanda was so focused on making sure that no one came close to Selena that she started to sabotage her employees. Martin Gomez, who worked as a fashion designer for Selena's stores, remembers Yolanda as angry and vindictive. He said that sometimes he and his team would finish sewing a garment and leave it at the store for the night. The next morning, they'd find the garment ripped apart at the seams, and he knew that Yolanda had done it. Martin didn't stay silent about all of this, and he warned Selena to watch her back with Yolanda. But Selena had a soft soul that loved to give people the benefit of the doubt, and she trusted Yolanda. After all, how could this sweet woman with the auntie-like persona ever harm anyone? Plus, business was booming for the stores. It's alleged that Selena made about $5 million from these stores alone. All was going well until it wasn't. Abraham started to notice some discrepancies in the business books. As he and Suzette looked closer, they noticed that Yolanda had stolen more than $30,000 from the business. He'd also been contacted by multiple fans who claimed that they had sent their $22 fan club membership fee, but had never received any of their promised merch. That's when Abraham clicked that something was off about Selena's biggest fan. On March 9th, 1995, Selena's father confronted Yolanda. He told her that he knew she was stealing from the business, and they threatened to go to the cops. Abraham told Yolanda that she was banned from ever seeing Selena again. But despite knowing about her friend's betrayal, Selena's forgiving nature couldn't let the friendship end on such a sour note. On top of that, Selena believed that she needed Yolanda's help with the boutique she was planning to open in Mexico. She thought that Yolanda was the only one who could make those businesses a success. Yolanda also had something to hold over Selena. She was in possession of financial documents that Selena needed for the existing and future businesses. These financial documents would end up becoming Yolanda's last means to control Selena. Yolanda set up a meeting with Selena. She brought a gun and lured Selena to a hotel. Yolanda told her so-called friend that on her most recent trip to Mexico, she had been sexually assaulted and beaten up, and she begged Selena to take her to the hospital. Through her tears, Yolanda told Selena that if she did this for her, she would hand over all the financial documents Selena needed.
On March 31st, Selena took Yolanda to the clinic as promised, but the medical staff could not confirm that Yolanda had been assaulted, and they directed her to a clinic in San Antonio to receive a proper medical exam. Instead of heading straight there, Yolanda and Selena went back to the Days Inn where Yolanda was staying. Together, they walked down the hall toward room 158. What happened next is made even more tragic with the knowledge that Selena intended to fire Yolanda that day once and for all. Those close to Selena say she had finally decided to cut ties with the person who had stolen from her and sabotaged her relationship for years. Not long after Selena and Yolanda entered the motel room, screams could be heard coming from the room. Guests at the motel remember hearing two female voices shouting about something to do with business. Fights seem to happen all the time, though, especially when business is involved, so who could have known that at 11:58 a.m., Yolanda would reach into her handbag and pull out a gun? The shock of being face-to-face with a weapon must have paralyzed Selena before she came to her senses and ran as fast as she could. But no matter how fast she moved, she couldn't outrun the hollow point bullet that was following her. In a split second, the bullet pierced through her shoulder, but Selena didn't stop running. As she ran, trails of blood followed behind her. Eventually, she made it to the lobby where she fell to the ground. The desk clerk had heard the booming sound of a gunshot ring through the air, and when he jolted his head up, he saw Selena racing towards him before she collapsed in front of his desk. Then he heard the angry voice of another woman, Yolanda, screaming. He immediately called 911 and prayed they would make it in time to save Selena, but the woman in front of him was fading quickly. With the last breath in her body, she uttered a few words. Yolanda Saldivar, room 158. Within 2 minutes, paramedics were at the scene and rushed Selena to Corpus Christi Memorial Hospital. She had no vital signs and her chances of survival were bleak. Doctors opened up Selena's chest, and that's when they finally saw the gravity of the situation. Selena was bleeding profusely, so much that there was almost no blood left in her veins. The bullet had severed a main artery that caused massive internal bleeding. Doctors gave her blood transfusion after blood transfusion, but her heart had stopped. Still, Doctors didn't give up. They tried to manually pump her heart, hoping to revive it, but it was too late. At 1:05 p.m., Selena Quintanilla-Pérez was declared dead, just a few weeks before her 24th birthday. Back at the motel, Yolanda was sitting in her car. After shooting Selena, she had run to her vehicle in hopes of getting away. However, before she could move, the police had surrounded her. As the officers ran to her with their guns drawn, she made one last act of desperation. She held the gun to her head and threatened to take her own life. The police immediately halted their approach and attempted to de-escalate the situation, but Yolanda refused to put her gun down. Eventually, they were forced to call in negotiators to try and reason with Yolanda. For 9.5 hours, police mediators talked to Yolanda through her car window. At first, they withheld the information that Selena had succumbed to her injuries. But when Yolanda heard the news through the radio in her car, she became inconsolable. Sobbing, she told police she didn't mean to pull that trigger. Quote, "I didn't mean to kill anybody." After hours of back and forth, Yolanda eventually put the .38 caliber revolver down and stepped out of the car and into police custody. News of Selena's death spread through the nation and caused shockwaves through the music industry. No one could believe that this beautiful, vivacious singer with the world at her feet would be gunned down in such a vicious way, and nonetheless by someone in her inner circle like Yolanda. Selena was recording her first English album and was about to cross over into mainstream pop. This would have been huge, not just for her, but for all Hispanic fans who followed her. For them, this would be validation that someone who looked like them could overcome barriers and make it. Tens of thousands of people attended a vigil held for Selena. The young star was placed in an open casket, and almost 40,000 fans came to see her for their final goodbye. As she lay in the casket, shrouded in white and dressed in a purple suit, she looked every bit the star that she was. Even in death, her beauty was mesmerizing. The publicity that the case had garnered in Corpus Christi only grew as the trial loomed closer. Eventually, the trial was moved to Houston because Yolanda's lawyer feared that she would not receive a fair trial if the trial was held in Selena's hometown where she had so many devoted fans.
During the trial, Yolanda told her version of what happened that day. She said that Selena had begged Yolanda not to leave her and that Selena got on her knees and pleaded with Yolanda to continue working with her. Yolanda says she took the gun out of her purse and pointed it at her own head. Yolanda says she wanted to kill herself, but Selena kept telling her to put the gun down so they could talk. As Selena moved to close the motel room door, Yolanda says she gestured for Selena to leave the door open, and that's when the gun went off, accidentally. The trial lasted several weeks until finally it was time to hear the verdict. Crowds gathered outside and everyone waited in nervous anticipation. Finally, after only 2 hours and 23 minutes of deliberation, the jury came back. They found Yolanda guilty of murder and sentenced her to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 30 years. She'll be eligible for parole in 2025. Since her conviction, Yolanda has given multiple television interviews. In these interviews, she claims to have a secret about Selena that no one knows. A secret that will prove that she is innocent of everything she's accused of.
Many have said that this is a desperate attempt to get out of prison, but others claim that Yolanda's intentions run far deeper than that. They claim that this is yet another example of Yolanda claiming to have exclusive access to Selena even after her death. That, by the way, she caused. She wanted to be linked to Selena forever, and unfortunately, she got her wish. It's hard to speak of Selena without making mention of her tragic murder and the woman that pulled the trigger. But instead of tying Selena's name to Yolanda's and remembering her for her death, we should remember her for her life, for the impact she had on Tejano music and the hope she brought to the Latino community. We should remember her for her incredible talent, knockout fashion sense, and captivating stage presence. Lastly, we should remember her for the good she brought back to the world, for the times she raised money to assist in the AIDS epidemic, or the times she spoke to students about making something of their lives, despite their circumstances. Because look at her. Look at what she became. She created a legacy so strong that not even death could destroy it. Thank you so much again for being our valued patrons. Until next time, stay safe. Bye.
This holiday, discover meaningful gifts for everyone on your list at Kay. Not sure where to start? Our jewelry experts are here to help you find or create the perfect gift, in-store or online. Book your appointment today and unwrap love this season, only at Kay.
Hey, Ryan Reynolds here. Wishing you a very happy half-off holiday because right now Mint Mobile is offering you the gift of 50% off unlimited. To be clear, that's half price, not half the service. Like, Mint is still premium unlimited wireless for a great price. So that means a half day, yeah?
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.